All right, peeps, welcome to the Culture and People Cast. Today we have David with us. David, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
David Zinger from Winnipeg, Canada. In essence, I work on work or employee engagement frequently. Not sure that's a suitable term anymore, so I think we need to find a new term, but I really try to help people experience work from a more constructive perspective.
I love it. Well, thank you for that work. And so you've been in this area of influencing people and culture for quite a while now. What's your favorite part?
Yeah, I guess it's 30 years that engagement first came on the scene with William Kahn and personal engagement. I was in counseling psychology then. I think my favorite part is for the client or the individual is to see them experience benefits. And from my own end, it's learning. I like learning, and I'm curious, and I'm fascinated with people's experiences of working.
Yeah, I always say that it's almost like, for me, being a student of the system, it's almost like watching ants in an ant farm where you're like, what are they going to do next? Like, where are they going to dig their hole and what path will they move? It's just like it's a fascinating experience watching humans at work.
Yeah, I won't go down this rabbit hole, but for 3 years I worked at engaging honeybees with social media and put computers in hives. And probably the most enthralling experience I ever had was one time pulling an IBM ThinkPad that was live when it went in the computer, but it sat there, and the bees created all kinds of beeswax around it, and there was maybe 5,000 or 6,000 bees on that computer. Wow, what a feeling.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have a whole other episode about that. That sounds like such a cool project. Oh my goodness. So with this concept of these humans and these people and this culture, I'm hearing from a lot of top leaders that engaging their employees is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think we failed. We failed miserably. I think employee engagement is a terrible term, actually. I think we really need to move to work engagement, or William Kahn 30 years ago used personal engagement. It's atrocious to me that people got furloughed and laid off and didn't have a portable skill around engagement and working. I think we failed in somehow, some way, and it's consultancies turned engagement into an outcome. And I think it's really a process. You don't really want engagement. You want safety, or you want profits, or you want well-being, and engagement is the way. It's a verb. So until we do that, we're not going to have significant change.
Yeah, that is such an interesting way to think about it. I think I heard you label it as a skill. So engagement is a skill that we can build up and practice for ourselves at work and in our personal lives then.
Yeah, it's a behavior. Like I have some measurements of engagement, and they're all, how many times this week did you? How often did you? Or it's an action. And so it's abundantly clear in psychology that you change people's attitudes through behavior, not behavior through attitudes. And most of the assessments are all attitudinal. Well, I don't care if you feel really happy here. I like that, but are you engaged? Are you doing things? Are you improving the lot of life for others at work? So that's where I'm focused at.
Yeah, even the statistics around are you satisfied at work are much higher than are you engaged at work, right? There's a difference between like, yeah, I'm happier, I get a place to make a paycheck, or, if you're in person, I get a place to come every day, but that doesn't mean you're engaged.
Yeah, self-serving consultancies. I'm a little harsh today. I'm not sure exactly why.
I love it.
Self-serving consultancies report high levels of disengagement because it helps them sell product. Literally, when Gallup says 93% of the workforce might be disengaged, I go in front of 300 people when we could go in person. I ask everyone who's disengaged to raise their hand, and I'm lucky to get 3 or 4. Now, we know part of the reason why they don't raise their hand. But I think people, when they think about engagement, think about work and what they're doing, not necessarily organization or leadership at times. And those numbers are just, they're inflated. Anything that deviates significantly from a bell curve, you should be very skeptical of.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
one more comment. It's just a disservice. It's a disservice to the people working to say, oh, look at all the people that are disengaged. Well, that's certainly not been my experience.
Yeah. And you look at all the pieces that go into being engaged, like you were saying, the organization or the ecosystem, the leader in the leader, and then all the other leaders, and then who you work with. There's so many aspects of it that can affect it. And I like your statement about it being, change your attitude through behavior versus, did I get that right? Change your attitude through behavior. Right. Yeah. So what advice do you have for these organizations who say like, okay, David, no, I'm enough of the BS. I'm really ready to move my culture forward, move my people strategy forward. What tactical things should they be doing?
Really? I guess I want to know that they really want to do it, or otherwise my advice is don't. There's a word I use, iatrogenic disengagement, and it comes from medicine. Iatrogenic means illness is caused by the cure. And so if you do things in the name of engagement and they create disengagement, that's not healthy. So don't survey the employees every year or 2 years unless you're going to act on every element of the survey. Don't survey employees unless you're going to release the information to the employees themselves. And if you say, well, then they won't give us honest answers, then you have a psychological safety issue bigger than engagement. So address that. With that. And I guess ultimately, don't think that you're not an employee yourself. And so work on your own engagement, and that modeling of your own engagement will probably have an impact on those who are engaging, or otherwise it just seems disingenuous and inauthentic.
Yeah, I think I give similar advice. I was just giving some video feedback for a Q&A for a talk I did last week for a bank. And one of the questions was that, I know you talked about like owning my own career, but I still feel unfulfilled. And it's like, then stop expecting other people to fulfill you. Just like in life, expecting our life partner to be the one that makes us totally happy and whole is unrealistic.
Not going to happen.
Right? So like, we've got to take more ownership of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something tactically then the individual can do to do that, to regain that ownership?
Is there something? There's a million things. If you just go into academia a little bit and look at job demand resource model, if you look at job crafting, if you look at US scales, what the academics have offered is evidence-based, it's research-based, frequently has control groups, and it's very, very practical. And shame on the academics for not making that more easily palatable for the everyday leader or the everyday person of how we adopt that.
Yeah. So job crafting, what would that look like for somebody in action?
Well, job crafting is to craft your work, to know who you are, what your strengths are, what your interests are, what you like doing, and starting to look at what you do. Sometimes it means changing your work. Sometimes it simply means thinking about your work from different ways. It's really a systematic process working on your work.
Yeah, agreed. I always tell people we should be doing career audits, for example. Go back and think about all the things that you've accomplished, because I promise you, if you're anything like the people that I know and me, you forgot some of the things that you did. And so give yourself more data to make data-driven decisions about your own career and about the way you use your time, your talents, and your voice. That sounds like a great tool for us. So we'll make sure we link an article in the show notes for everybody, David.
Okay.
So what other leaders like yourself would you want to acknowledge, who are really pushing this people and culture space forward?
Well, just because I talked about academics, certainly Arnold Baker out of the Netherlands, and the work he's done with other researchers around job demand resource model and work engagement. He really is a leader in the field. I have utmost respect for the work that comes out of him and his students.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you for that. And are there any favorite resources, books, articles, thought leaders, even anything of your own that you would want to point people to dive deeper?
If you can stomach it, so a lot of the academic articles are really quite good if you go into work engagement. Personally, I like Buddhist psychology. I'm not a Buddhist and I don't practice the religious element, but I think the sense of mindfulness and the sense of impermanence are really fundamental. Engagement is not static. My engagement changes maybe 100 times a day. So let's not measure it once a year. Let's be more attuned and mindful of how engagement unfolds each and every day.
Yes, I agree, David. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you're doing for people and culture in the workplace.
All right. Thanks a lot, Anna. Take care.